I was so bored. I actually made myself a cookbook. Like I just half the time I save these recipes, and I think I've done maybe 2 or 3 of them. But what I want to do is I want to do the squash soup. I found a really good recipe for squash soup, and so I'm going to attempt to do it. But I think there's one that is carrots, and then there's one that's squash, and there's one that has pumpkin in it. So pumpkin, I mean, all you have to do is, I think apparently, is you take the flesh of the pumpkin, but I don't have that. And usually when the kids were little, I used to do that. The pumpkin was left over, I would cut it up and I would freeze it, but I don't have any. So I did pick up a squash, and oh my gosh, I just can't wait to try that soup. So I basically made myself a little cookbook. I went to the dollar store and I got myself one of those binders that have got what have they got? Like those papers in it, where you slip the envelope papers, those plastic ones. Yeah, I got one of those. And it's got like a folding thing in the front. But what I did is, it's only $0.25. It's $0.25 at the library to get a photocopy. So, I found some really good cookbooks, books, and they've got recipes in them, really good recipes. And so what I did is I got them photocopied. I went through the cookbooks and I marked a lot of the recipes. And you notice I have this. Well, those ones have got some recipes. I've got them cut out. I used to have tons and tons of recipe books, but I gave it to my kids when they grew up and left home, because I thought I'm never going to use them again. Oh, and now I'm like craving cooking. It's because I'm bored. It's because I'm bored, and when I'm lonely, I grab a hold of a book and I read it, or I clip out some recipes and things like that. But this is good. So I got like recipes for quinoa. I got, I like this one for banana French toast. That's going to be good. Banana French toast. And power-packed creamy oats, because I eat a lot of rolled oats. And I don't know. I just found some really good recipes. But they even tell you, there's one recipe that I found, and they're from different cookbooks, right? So there's one recipe that I found. My mom used to make the creamy potato soup with the leeks, and so I found a recipe for that. So I thought, well, I'm going to give it a shot. I'll give it a shot. I'm going to try it. I can't compete with my mom's cooking. She was like, she could make a meal out of anything. I could say a lot of things, but I'll tell you, you could never say anything wrong about my mother's cooking, because she could make a meal out of nothing. Now, I wasn't too keen on the parsnips that she made me eat at times, occasionally, but the rest of it was pretty good. It was pretty good. Anyway, so there's a pumpkin soup. And I thought, well, that's different, so I'm going to clip that one, right? So there was a few of them. There was pumpkin, but there's the one, butternut squash. So I actually bought a butternut squash the other day, but I didn't know how to cut it, right? And then I found, where is it here? I found got to put my glasses on. I found a recipe that actually shows me how to cut it, how you actually cut the squash itself. Now, I never knew that. I never knew. Now I can't find it, but it's in here somewhere. I should really mark it. Oh, there it is. Okay. So it actually shows you how to cut it. And that's about the size of the one that I got. And it's a nice kind of like a pale yellowy orange color. It says that's butternut squash chowder, but it shows you how to cut it up. You peel away the tough outer skin using a peeler, and then you trim off the top and the bottom, and you use a chef's knife, which I don't have, but I have a knife. Slice the squash in half, widthwise, separating the the solid narrow neck from the hollow rounded bottom. And then you slice the solid neck piece crosswise into rounds, and then cut into pieces as directed below. See, like, that's what I mean, is those are the type of things that I never learned. I never paid attention. I don't even remember Mom making the squash soup. Potato soup, I remember that. I love the potato soup, yeah. Pumpkin soup, butternut squash soup, Now, hummus. I make tons and tons of hummus. I use no tahini because I can never afford it. And besides that, I can't find it. So roasted garlic hummus. I absolutely love hummus. So recipe for that. But the biggest thing is that I had no idea that the water in a can of chickpeas, that you could actually make, what's that stuff called? Meringue. And it actually peaks. It will peak. So, there was a lot of recipes that I found, but look at all the papers. So I can go to town on that. I can go down on that. But there was one that I had found. I got some of these cookbook ones. And I marked a whole bunch of recipes, so I'm going to be broke by the end of this. But I'm not smoking anymore, so it's a better habit than having a cigarette, right? So, and I did get some of these National Geographic, and I also got some Canadian Living for some more recipes. But there was one book, I'm trying to find it here. In this book here, I read one of the articles, and one of the articles was talking about, when there's fires and things like that, right? There's toxins from a fire, and that, when they go in and they clean it out from a big fire, like Texas had those fires, and what was that other place? California had major fires, and there was lots of damage and lots of forestry that was ruined, right? So they went in, they clear cut it, and they cleaned it up, and kind of makes you wonder how they are going about to clean the soil, because the toxins will literally leak into the soil. So this article, if I can find it, was talking about how best to control that. And basically, and it was an ecologist that had gone in and there was research done on this. And so what you do is, I'm still trying to find the article, but what they do is they go in and they mix compost, feces, animal compost. They mix it in with the soil. And then what do? They plant oyster mushrooms, the little button oyster mushrooms, and those mushrooms will eat up the soil, right? Because it helps them to grow, because it's got the nutrients and things like that in it. So the mushrooms will literally thrive on the composted soil that's mixed with the contaminated soil, and so the mushrooms will eat that up, and they will multiply, and they multiply very quickly, and they grow big and strong. They eat all the vegetables, you know what I'm saying? They eat all that poop. Anyway, what happens is the oyster mushrooms will literally absorb those toxins from the soil, and they break it down, and it's no longer. They literally break it down to the point where there's no more toxins left in the soil. And so that's healthy for the soil. So, I'm trying to find that bloody article. I knew I should have marked it, but I didn't. But it's oyster mushrooms, and it's just interesting to learn about stuff like that. And so I found it really, really eye-opening for me. I should have really marked the page. Oh, there it is. Okay, there it is. Okay, so they call them, they're oyster mushrooms. And I'll just read the little excerpt to you. I'll put it up here so you can take a screenshot of it. I don't know, did that work? Okay, so here it says, so when wildfires burn, right, through like human inhabited areas, they leave behind these toxins, and it absorbs into the soil. So it says hazardous ash from the incinerated remains of household waste, building materials, pesticides, and more. I mean, when there's a fire, you have all sorts of chemicals under your cupboard. You have, chemicals in your bathroom. You have hairsprays. You have perfumes. You have all sorts of things. And those things will absorb into the soil. Cleaning supplies, right? Building materials, pesticides, and more. And that leaves pollutants like arsenic, asbestos, and lead in the soil. So runoff from this ash can end up in the local creeks and the drinking waters. So what happens is the workers do their best, right, to remove most of the toxic debris. But what about the pollutants that go underneath those burned out buildings. Okay. So there is a thing called mycorrhizal mediation macrofungi, and they are oyster mushrooms. And they accumulate and they break down an array of hazardous metals and restore damaged environments. Sorry, my cat is like, he just won't leave me be. I mean, he's with me all the time. I don't know what's wrong with him. He's just such a suck. Anyway, so where was I? So it says enter mycorrhizal mediation microfungi, which is oyster mushrooms, and that can accumulate and break down an array of hazardous metals and restore damaged environments. So they can even help to clean up like oil spills. Like, how interesting is that? So if you have soil that is contaminated, and I watch a channel, what is it called? Roots and Refuge. And Jessica Savard, I think her name is Jessica, she was having problems with contaminated soil. And along came one of her workers and he told her about mushrooms. And so she got into that. And I'm wondering if that's why, because it helps to clean that contaminated soil. She's a smart cookie, I'll tell you, she's a smart cookie. So it says that it helps to clean up oil spills. And they're tasty because apparently you take contaminated soil, you mix it with something mushrooms like to eat, you seed it with button mushrooms, and then you can even eat the mushrooms after. And that is said by Greg Thorne. He's a fungal ecology expert at Western University in London, Ontario. So if you want to read that article, it's on page 59 in National Geographic. It's not National Geographic, Canadian Geographic. I don't know what month this is, though. It doesn't say the month. Well, it must say the month, I just can't read it. September 2024, yeah. It's got a really nice picture of a wolf on there. I might take that picture and I might draw it. I might sketch it. I bought myself a sketch pad. I used to be pretty good at sketching, so maybe I'll start doing that too. But in those moments when I'm really bored, I grab a book, I find some recipes, and I enjoy myself. And that's what they look like right there. That's the mushrooms. Yeah. Cool, eh? So I just thought it was interesting. I have to show you this. I like to show you this. Look at, he's sitting on top of my books. This is a gift that he got in the mail, this little mat, and it's kind of crinkly, and he does not leave it too far. He's always around it, but yeah, he just wants to be around me. If I sit at my table, my dining room table, he will jump up under the table, and the chairs that are pushed into the table, he will jump on them and he will lay on them. But he doesn't leave my side all bloody day. And when I go out for a walk or I go out to the library, I come home and he's just on me like white on rice. Like, you know what I mean? You know, I used to be involved more in the outside world, and I found that once I turned 60, I'm not as involved. I just couldn't be bothered. There is so much, what's the word? Negativity in the world. So much negativity that I choose just to kind of steer away from it. I couldn't be bothered with it. You know, like I'm lucky that I wake up in the morning and that I have a roof over my head and food in my belly, and you know, I can continue to sustain myself from day to day and month to month. But I'm not focusing on the fact that my energy levels have changed, my hair has changed, my skin texture has changed, my everything in my life has changed. I'm not focused on the negative aspect of that. That's just part of that journey of our life. And, you know, I'm coming close to the end, I think, of those. I believe that life is like a big life lesson, right? And when you get to the end of that, and when you have learned the lessons that you need to learn, now maybe you don't learn, maybe you're a hard learner, you're a hard case, and maybe you're going to have to come back in the next life, you're going to have to come back again and redo it, you know what I'm saying? But I don't think I want to come back. I don't think I want to come back. I think I have had wondrous times in my life. I've traveled. I've been rich. I've been poor. I've been happy. I've been sad. I've been all those gamuts. Okay, I've had my fill. I've had my fill. Things have changed so much since the 60s. Like, seriously. And I'm a child of the 60s. But listen, even the weather. I mean, we have climate change now, right? We have climate change. And back in my day, I mean, they're talking about climate change and they're saying, and I see it. I mean, there's tornadoes that never happened in certain areas that are happening there. Things are changing. Things are evolving. But back in the 60s, when we had a snowstorm, honey, we had a snowstorm. The snow would cover right up the picture window, like 6 foot. You know what I'm saying? And now you get a foot, and everybody's saying, oh my God, climate change, it's horrible. I'm not going anywhere. And I do agree. Don't drive when the weather's bad. I do agree with that. I do. I really do. But Jesus. A centimeter of snow as compared to when I was a kid, it was like a foot and a half, maybe 6 feet. I wish I still had a picture because I remember my brother going out and shoveling the snow, not from the driveway, but from the picture window. So anyway, so I just wanted to put this out there and make this video and make it a quick one and a quick and a short one. But I have a tendency to yik yak because, you know, sometimes it gets a little lonely on this side of the camera. So I'll see you in the next video. The good Lord be willing. Namaste.